Hey YouTube, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, welcome to my channel. If you aren't new to my channel, you might have already seen my first Q&A video. Today I thought that I would answer some more of the questions that you guys sent me from the last time, since I didn't get even close to reading all of them. For today's video, I will answer some of the ones from Instagram, but I also wanted to focus on the ones that you guys sent me here on my YouTube channel. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so starting right off with a deep question, Cindy Sue asks, what do you do when you start doubting your choice in pursuing music? Cry. I'm only half kidding. This is an interesting question, and I'm not sure if I really have a concrete answer to it, but I think what helps me is to think back to all the times that I did doubt myself and then think about how I overcame those times. I think self-doubt is a very common thing for musicians to deal with, or all human beings really. But if you can try to remind yourself of the times that you did overcome a challenge in the past, or even think about your past successes, and those successes don't necessarily have to be, oh, I won this audition or I got into this school. It could even just be thinking about a time that you felt super sure of yourself, super confident, and you could try to channel that feeling into the moment that you are doubting yourself, and really just try to remember that this feeling of self-doubt will pass. It will not last forever. Karina Udriste asks, do heels affect your performing/playing? Now when I play, or even when I'm not playing, just in general, I try not to wear shoes that are uncomfortable. I do have some heels that aren't super high and that have a lot of support and cushion in them, and I find them really comfortable to play in. So personally, I feel comfortable when wearing heels, but I'm not wearing like 6-inch stilettos or something. I think the most important thing when it comes to shoes and playing is not only that you feel comfortable, but that you feel very balanced and steady on your feet. Ashley Flute asks, what do you use to record your flute for videos? The audio is so clear. So I use this Zoom recorder. It's actually right here, recording my audio for this video. The model is H4n. It's pretty easy to use, and it's worlds better than just using the audio from my camera or my iPhone. And I then go into my editing software and just sync the audio from the video with the audio from the Zoom together. And I have a link in all of my video descriptions with a page that has my entire recording setup if you're interested. Okay, I'm definitely saying this one wrong, but Sheet ALMB1 asks, what do you think about when you perform? That's a great question. I remember when I was younger and I had some of my first solo performance experiences playing at my church when I was growing up. I remember some of those solo performances, and I remember thinking to myself, what should I be thinking about? So then I was thinking about trying to find out what I should be thinking about. I don't know, it's hard to say, because there are moments where I feel like I'm really in the moment and I'm not thinking about anything else except for the task at hand, and thinking only about the music and thinking about where's this phrase going, where's that phrase going. But then there are definitely times where my mind is wandering and I'm thinking about like, oh, I forgot to do that earlier, or I should do this later. And those are not the performances that I end up being the most happy about. I feel like that could mostly happen if I was playing in a super low stakes type of performance situation. So yeah, to sum it up, I try to think about the music and I try to be in the moment. Okay, so now let's move on over to your questions here from YouTube. Jackie Foreman asks, do you know how to circular breathe? If so, any advice? I do not know how to circular breathe, so I have no advice for you, unfortunately. Personally, I think it's something that you don't really need to know how to do. I would spend more time focusing on how to use your normal breathing or air in an efficient way. But I have kind of always wanted to learn how to do it, so if you guys would like to see me attempting to learn, let me know, and maybe that could become a video. Hanny W asks, what would you say has been the hardest struggle that you had to work through during your musical career? I feel like there have been and are so many struggles, so probably if I could sum it all up into one statement, it would be my continuous work to overcome my self-doubt and to really just get out of my own way and stop making things harder for myself. I feel like a lot of the struggles that I've had come from more of an internal place as opposed to external situations, kind of like the scenario of you being your own worst enemy. So that's something that I've had to fight through a lot, and something that I have to continue to work on, and really just learning how to get out of my own way and how I can actually help myself versus hurting myself. Okay, so we've got a 3-part question here from Sari Jones. Number 1, do you have any advice to flute players who just got braces? So I had my braces on for under a year when I was in 5th grade, and that was a year after I started playing the flute. So it definitely was difficult for me to adjust to, and I remember it being really painful at first. The inside of my lip was getting cut up, but my orthodontist gave me this type of like pink wax that I would put on my braces before I played so that it would like have a barrier or a cushion between the inside of my lip and my teeth. So I would recommend checking something like that out, and also remember to be patient with yourself. Second question, what can we do now that will help us if we want to go to music school? So that's a really broad, open-ended question, and I could say a lot of things about that subject, but I would say one of the most, if not the most important thing to do would be to get a good teacher. And then once you have that really great teacher, the next step is to apply the things that they are teaching you to your practice and to do a decent amount of good practice every day. And then the last question, this might be getting obnoxious, so sorry, don't apologize. But what are some tips you would give for motivation? So that's another great question. Motivation can come from a lot of things. It could come from places like competition and wanting to be better than someone else, or a deadline and realizing that you have to work super hard really quickly to get something done. But I think that the best form of motivation and the most lasting form of motivation comes from inside. I would encourage you to think about your goals and the steps that you can take to work towards those goals. And I would think about both smaller short-term goals and then higher goals that are maybe more difficult to achieve or are currently more out of reach for you. And really do some self-reflection and think about why you want to achieve these things. I feel like, at least for me, when my motivation is lacking, it's often because I think that I can't achieve something, or that something is too out of reach, something is too difficult for me, or it's just impossible. So that's where thinking of the smaller short-term goals can really come in handy. Whether it's something like, I want to learn this new piece so I can play it at my recital, or even I want to get these first 5 measures of this piece really beautiful and solid. This might not be the answer that you're looking for, but really the best and truest, purest form of motivation has to come from within. Next question is from Liz Laz. How would you typically prepare yourself right before a concert to keep yourself from getting nervous? I struggle with this a little bit because I'm very shy to play in front of many people. So I think that when I feel those butterflies or nervous, anxious energy, I like to redirect my thoughts and think, oh, I'm feeling excited, or I'm anticipating what's about to happen because I can't wait to play for these people. It might sound kind of silly, but if you can think about that feeling in a different way and how it could serve you in a different purpose instead of a negative one. The other thing that I like to think about is that no one in the audience wants to hear you fail. Like, have you ever gone to a concert and thought, oh my gosh, I hope this trombone player just messes up? Probably not, unless you are a genuinely mean-spirited person, and in that case, please don't come to my recital. But I'd also encourage you to think about that and to think back to a time that you were in the audience of someone's concert and how you were really rooting for them. You wanted to see them succeed, and that's what they want for you. The audience is on your side, and if you can think about that and use that to your advantage, you'll have a better performance. The next question is from Felicia Kwan. For NEC, New England Conservatory, were you in the prep school or did you just go there for college? Also, I actually just got into their YPO myself. Got any tips for surviving in an orchestra, especially when you might have to be the piccolo? So I only did my undergrad at NEC. I didn't go to any type of pre-college program anywhere. I went to good old public school in Pennsylvania. Congrats on getting into YPO, that's awesome. And tips for surviving an orchestra, I would say learn your part really well before the first rehearsal, especially if you're playing piccolo because you cannot hide. Cindy S asks, what's the perfect affordable flute for a beginner? So I actually have a video from a few years ago about selecting your first flute, and I guess my biggest piece of advice would be don't buy one on Amazon, don't buy one from Walmart, because yes, maybe it's saving you money in the beginning, but in the long run, that flute is not going to wear very well. It's much better to spend a bit more money then, if possible, and buy a reputable brand. The ones I mentioned in that video are the Yamaha Model 222, the Gemeinhardt 2SP, and the Pearl Model 500. You can find all of those flutes for a good price at the Flute Center of New York, and if you use my code KTFL when shopping there, you'll get some special perks like free shipping, extended trial period, and an extended warranty. Logan Schlaud asks, do you have a job outside of YouTube? Yes. So apart from my social media stuff, I am a freelance classical flutist. So I play gigs, I play recitals, I teach private flute lessons. I kind of do a big combination of things that I just patchwork together. Catherine Ross asks, what are your thoughts on casual players, like people who aren't looking to be extremely classical trained, just play for fun, get the basics down, and play what they want, jam out, etc. Is that still valid? I played in high school and attempted to go to college for music and found it wasn't for me, but I still play in a casual sense and I love it. I play things by ear, but also can read basic music, nothing too complicated, if I feel so inclined, and I find that satisfying enough. That's truly awesome, and of course that is valid. Music can be so many things for so many different people. Wow, that's deep. No, but seriously, I think that it is a shame that some professional musicians or music teachers send this message, whether it is consciously or subconsciously, to other people that it's not valid enough to be an amateur musician, or that you can't really be a true musician unless you're doing X, Y, and Z. I feel like I can relate to that question on some level, but with ballet, maybe not so much now, but in my undergrad, when I was right out of high school, I had a lot of trouble finding what dance meant to me now that I wasn't studying it seriously and I wasn't performing anymore. And I struggled with figuring out what ballet's purpose was in my life if I wasn't going to be doing it seriously. And now I take class for fun because I enjoy it, but I would still consider myself a serious student on some level just because I am really passionate about it. Also in my undergrad, I used to go to ballet class a lot more frequently, and I would maybe be walking around with my hair up in a bun or something, and someone would ask me, "Are you a dancer?" And I was like, "No, I'm not a dancer. I'm not a dancer at all. I just take class for fun. Like, I'm not a serious dancer." And I felt like I had to make that disclaimer all the time just to let people know that, like, I know I'm not the best at this and this is not what I'm trying to pursue. But you know, I could still be a dancer even though I'm not a professional dancer. Dancer, just someone who dances. I'm a dancer. And a musician is just someone who makes music. So your music making or my dancing is not any less valid just because you're not pursuing it on a professional level. And the world truly needs more people like you out there, people that are so passionate and have a love in their heart for music. So I still didn't get to all of your questions. I hope that I can finish answering them on a later video. And if you have any more questions for me, maybe a specific question that I didn't answer in this video that you'd like to hear an answer to in another video, please leave it in the comments below. If you liked this video, please subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any future videos from me, and be sure to connect with me over on Instagram at katieflute. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.